Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow. Welcome to a new apartment video. Now today, I've got an apartment to show you, which is in this building right behind me, and it's actually listed for sale. And actually there's nobody living there right now. It's essentially ready for someone to buy it and move in. And I thought we'd go and have a look, and I'll actually let you know the prices at the end of the video of the actual for sale price, and actually what it would potentially be for rent as well, because I think lots of people want to know both of those things. And I'll just briefly show you where I am so you can get a bit of an idea of the region, and we'll go on head on inside and check out the apartment. Quite typically on a lot of my videos, I'll do a bit of a walk around of the area where the apartment is, but I'm going to get right into the meat and potatoes of the video today. So this is the building we want to go and see. This is a 5-level apartment building. Now, some people might call it a Khrushchevka, and it essentially is, but this is the modern version, which is the brick and concrete version. So the original 5-level Khrushchevkas were the panel houses, and they were made of prefabricated panels, and they were craned in and built very quickly. And this whole district where I am here, with the exception of this huge building, is all the 5-level apartment buildings, this whole row. Now, where I am here is a region called North Izmailova. That's the suburb where we are. However, most people reference where we are in Moscow to the nearest metro station. And the nearest metro station is a 9-minute walk, and it's to Shelkovskaya metro station. And it's quite a well-known stop on the metro. Also, it's got a major bus station there. So if you want to go anywhere else in the northeast of Moscow and beyond, you can. And it's only 9 minutes. If you walk to the end of the building, turn right, you'll be there. Or you could actually just follow this road all the way down, and there's a path that leads you to the metro station 9 minutes from right here. And this is a very suburban area, very leafy, I guess I'd call it. Now, being that it's the end of winter, it's not quite as green, but you can imagine the shade these trees would give you in springtime, autumn time, summertime. And this is the building we want to see. In case you might have noticed, I've changed jackets now, being that the weather has got a bit warmer. I'm now on my 3rd version of my winter jacket, and I've also got a new hat. My wife pulled out another hat from the cupboard. So if you're watching videos at this point in time on the channel, I'm changing hats almost every video. So the apartment we're going to go and see is here on the left-hand side. It's a 2-room apartment, and it's 48 square meters. And it has basically 2 rooms, kitchen, bathroom, toilet, entranceway. It's got a balcony, and I think you might like this apartment. Now, of course, a lot of people will grumble and mumble at the area where we are here. You know, it's always never beautiful right after winter ends. The ground is still wet and damp. The snow and ice is melted, but it's not dried out yet. However, it's not very noisy. It's nice and quiet. Here, a short walk to the metro station. Now, these buildings were built back in the 1960s, and these would have been a part of the social housing program in Russia. And all of these would have been given to people as part of the social housing program, and to bring people to certain regions in Russia. So whether it was Moscow, where we are here, or in other cities. If you might have seen one of my original apartment videos I did, the family lived there for 50 years and they still live in that same apartment. I'm wondering with this one if it might have seen a couple of different owners. I'm not sure. Today I'm actually alone for the video. There isn't Irina with me, there isn't Yuri with me, so I'm going to do it solo today. I'm very lucky I've got the PIN code and key to get in, It's a little bit strange coming to do my own tour without somebody to point out some things, but I think I'll do a good job, or I hope I will. And let's go and check this place out. If you're wondering what the Russian equivalent of the G-Wagon is, this is the UAZ Patriot. And it also has a little bit of a look of a Jeep to it. This is very much a Russian typical vehicle in Russia. Not too many of them in Moscow like this, but definitely out in the regional areas you'll see them a lot more. And of course, the other thing with these older areas, people didn't have cars back when these were built. People would rely on public transport. They would even have worked at nearby factories and schools, hospitals. There is actually a school at the end of the road, and there's quite a few schools within walking distance of this area here. So the cars tend to find their own parking nowadays, and there is always going to be a parking spot, so it's not really a problem. But it doesn't always look beautiful on the video. And looking up now, the actual apartment we want to go see is facing the other direction, but you can see the balconies on the upper levels. And then depending on the people that lived in them over the years, so they weren't with actual enclosed balconies. You can see that one up on the third level there is open, and then other people have actually added them later. And then actually even on the lower floor, some people put the bars on the windows, but it's really not necessary. I don't know why they do it in Russia. I can understand in other places. Actually, I would say at some point, they've probably done renovations to the roof. You can see new drain pipes as well. And almost every window has had replacement from what would have been original wood sash windows to plastic or fiberglass windows, and they would have gone from either a double glass wood window to now what would be double glazing or triple glazing. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference on the balcony build-outs as you look around. Before I go inside, let me just quickly talk about the doors. And pretty much every apartment building in Russia have these heavy metal doors. And then if you would have your own keys, you would have a key fob that you can put here on this button, or you can put a PIN code in that would open the door. And generally, if your friends are coming, you'd call the apartment number and then they'd open the door from upstairs for you, and you can head on inside. Looks like they've got some advertising for nearby events. I think these are Christmas events. They changed the posters. And let's go on inside. Let's make our way inside. Nice, firm, magnetic door when you come inside. And I will point out a few features here. Now, depending on the videos you've watched before, or if you've even seen any apartment tours in Russia, mailboxes on the wall here. There is actually some behind me as well. These don't get used in Russia. People don't get traditional mail. People who do online shopping go to pickup points. This one's actually not locked. And the only thing you get is the letter there for the services of the building, which would cover the rubbish removal and for heating. Have a look. This would have been the original door. I don't think they'll have changed this over the years. Even the old keypad as well. And the one thing that you do notice here, there isn't a ramp for wheelchairs or prams, which can make it a little bit difficult for people with families. And then have a look at this bank of radiators right here. And of course, these are on because of the winter weather. Probably got another month or more at least where they'll still be on, and you get nice and warm landings when you come inside. So where I am here, this would be effectively the ground floor apartments, but they'll call them level 1 in Russia. And we need to go up to level 3. There is a little bit of information and the people to contact if you need to. And then have a look. There's actually an elevator in here. And I'm curious if this is original or not. Someone needs to tell me, please. They've got a phone number there if you want internet installed in your apartment. And I'm not sure if you get stuck. Now we need to go up to the 3rd floor, so what I'm going to do is walk up there. I might just walk a few steps with you. Have a look at the open elevator shaft. Now there is a mesh here, but on each floor there is also the garbage chute. So you can actually put your garbage and it will go down to the basement of the building, and then it will get removed then. I think it's normally a couple of times a week that they come, depending on where you live. And there's actually heating on all the floors. And then these are the original wood sash windows. So there's actually 2 frames. Just have a look how thick the walls are here. In these older buildings, they're much thicker than some of the panel buildings or even modern apartment buildings. And we need to go up to the 3rd floor. Walking up to the 3rd floor, it's really interesting to see this elevator because I think this may be original or it may have been added later. If someone who's from Russia can tell me if these were original in the 1960s, they've actually got a mesh side panel so you can actually see the elevator and the cables leading up. Of course, a couple more floors. And this would be the original tiles. Any 5-level apartment building you go to in Russia has these tiles. And then, of course, the same colored paint scheme. And we need the apartment right here. Let's go and have a walk around the apartment, shall we? Now, just one thing I'll just point out here on the left is there's a hook right here. And I wonder if anybody knows what that's for. Now, if you're wondering, so when ladies would come home with their handbag, they'd hook it on there or they're shopping, and then you could open the door and let yourself in. Now, just to make it easier, I've already got the door unlocked, and it's just a little bit easier to film. Now, as is customary coming into anybody's house in Russia, you take your shoes off, and there is also some slippers here. And I'm actually going to take my slippers off and just walk in my bare feet. Just close the door behind me. So we've got a very classic layout of a Russian apartment. Now, one thing I will just point out as well is this double door. So the traditional heavy door, which if you've watched other videos, this is very normal. So there's the key lock at the bottom, then there's a second deadbolt. And I'm not sure why you would need so many locks, but it's just a part of Russian life. And then perhaps when this apartment was originally built, this would have been the original door and door handle. And I don't think this has ever been changed. They might have changed the lining perhaps on this side, but this would be the original second door, which keeps all the heat in, which makes perfect sense. So you've got a second door, you can just push that closed and you're good. Now, the layout is very typical of apartments in these 5-story buildings. And you've got the bathroom and toilet on the left, these first 2 doors, and then the kitchen. So there's a fairly big hallway here as well. Now there isn't any cupboard or side table here, but you can put a nice big wardrobe right here. And then we've got 2 rooms, and depending on where you're from in the world watching, you might call this a 1-bedroom apartment, because one obvious room would be a bedroom, and then one obvious room would be considered a lounge room, sitting room, living room. And in Russia, they name it 2-room apartments because there's one right here, which has got a bed or a sofa in it. They've got a second room right here, which has got beds in it, or it's just another room. And then what would be the kitchen, bathroom, toilet around the corner there. As you can see how spacious this entranceway is when there's no furniture here. There is also Wi-Fi in the apartment, and there is actually a PIN code. It's already activated, so it's easy to use. I was wondering where their electric box is, And it's right behind this picture frame. And this is very normal of older buildings, this spaghetti junction of cables. You could get actually a nice box with a cover on it, but they've just put a painting over it. It does exactly the same thing. So I'll walk around and show you here. So this apartment has been renovated, I would say, in the last 5 or 10 years. I'd say probably closer to 5 years. The doors have definitely been replaced from what they ever were. And then the flooring and skirting boards. And more than likely the wallpaper was 100% changed, because in most apartments in Russia, you'll have 4 different rooms with 4 different wallpapers. And also this has been replaced, this vinyl flooring right here. If you can find some of the apartments in original condition, they would have the wooden parquetry flooring, which is a bit of a shame it's not here, but I guess modern times we're in. Now I've actually put the lights on because it's starting to get a little bit darker outside. It's not too bad. So this will be considered a bedroom. Now, the way this apartment is built, it would be really designed around a couple or a family. Now, when this was built, going back to the 1960s, this would have really been a family with a mother and father, and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 kids even. So the kids would have had this room, maybe bunk beds or the single beds like this. And now it's kind of more like a guest room, the way they've got it set up like this. There is actually a split system air conditioner, so for summer, absolutely beautiful. Now this apartment does have central heating. I'll kind of point it out in the other room. It's behind the cupboard right there. You can see it under the window. But yeah, bookshelf. This is how people in Russia dry their clothes. I get asked this 100 times on every video, maybe a few hundred times, because in Russia we don't have tumble dryers. We have just a washing machine. Maybe a modern washing machine has 2 functions, but you've got 1 or 2 of these in your apartment and you let it dry naturally. Let's come on around to this main room. Now, the way it's set up in this apartment is they've got a sofa here which actually could roll out to another bed pretty easily. It's actually got the wheels on the bottom there, if you can see them. And they've got a very big TV here. Now, of course, being that this was previously a rental, and I would say this could have been some of the original furniture in here. You know, what you get is what you get. Now, remember, when you're buying this for sale, in Russia, almost everybody leaves all the furniture behind. There may be some agreement with the owner and the buyer that they might want to take just the bed or just the TV or maybe the mirror. And otherwise, what you see in this apartment is what you move in with and get. Right down to whatever the owner doesn't want to take. And that's very typical and very normal. And when myself and my wife bought and sold our apartment, and then we bought and sold another one, it was the same way. And we just took our personal belongings, and we knew that whatever was in the next apartment was there, and then whatever we wanted to replace, we could. So there is a balcony here, and it's completely enclosed. Now, the windows have definitely been replaced at some point, because these are the plastic double glazed windows. You can probably see it. It's probably a bit hard to see that double glazing. And then for the balcony coming out here, they've put new windows in at some point. You can actually see where they've not finished the roof off. That's very normal. So we're here on the 3rd level. So you can actually see outside the air conditioning units for the next apartments. Looks like they've got a few of the kitchen cupboards here. And I wonder, maybe there was an old wardrobe at some point and they just didn't take it out. So when you buy the place, that's still going to be sitting here. One thing they do have is they've got fly screen windows. That's what we call them in Australia. So you can open the windows. Really, you don't have a lot of problem with bugs. Maybe in summer, a little bit of flies, but you really don't have too much of a bug problem. You can actually see a couple of the other balconies. So whoever lives up on the 5th level hasn't enclosed the balcony. That would have been how they were And then people over the years have actually come and got the enclosed balconies done. Sometimes actually the people above and below do it all at the same time. Save a bit of money. You can see the AC units just there where they pipe in and out of the apartment. So yeah, most people use the balcony for storage. You could put a chair out here, but it's not overly practical. But it's great for storage, and that's also the other thing you can do too. This one isn't insulated. Well, the glass windows are, but it's still a little bit cooler out there. So you can use it as a second fridge. And with the windows being double glazed, though, it's a little bit warmer than it would be. Now the actual radiators, let's move this back as much as I can. These will be the original ones. They've been painted a few times now. And these are roasting hot. They're almost, you can't touch them. Now you can turn them off and stop the heat coming in because they're on a tap. What most people do, they leave them on and they just open the balcony door or the windows and let the air kind of acclimatize to the room. So yeah, this would be considered the parents' room. Now there isn't generally a traditional lounge room in apartments in Russia, especially in these older ones. And the kids would be in their room, parents would be in their room. Then the kitchen is kind of the middle ground. But there's some very big cupboards here. Plenty of storage space. I mean, actually the other reason people don't tend to take these things with them is they're very hard to leave and move out of the apartment. So there's some pillows and blankets. So most people don't want to have to take it apart and pay for removal. And you can understand, right? And then when you go to the next place, it's there as well. You've got a little bit of a creak on the floor. In the place I'm living at the moment, we've just changed part of the flooring, not the whole house, but part of it. And when we removed this flooring, there wasn't any underlay or a foam mat to stop the squeaking. And the guy that was laying ours was a little bit in shock that it was missing. Let's have a look at the bathroom and kitchen, shall we? I do hope you like these more detailed walk-arounds of Russian typical apartments. And I try to give you as much information as I can. And I know a lot of people will tell me, you know, get to the point, get to the main part of the video. However, the whole point of the video from the start was to come and show you a Russian typical apartment and show you some of the details that you might miss, or even someone who might live in these apartments didn't know was part of them. Just to talk about the Wi-Fi here. So any apartment that you go to, whether you rent it, buy it, daily rent it, there'll always be a Wi-Fi router that will be in the apartment. It's very rare that people take them with them. There's always one going to be just sitting there, and it's a fairly standard model. You would have to pay the monthly fee for the internet. Now, depending on the provider you use, it's around about $8 per month. Maybe at the highest about $10 per month. And that might include some of the things like movies and music and things like that. For our apartment where we live in Moscow region, we're paying just a little bit less than $8 US per month for our unlimited Wi-Fi. Let's head on into the kitchen. Now I'd say at some point this was perhaps a little bit modernized, but the layout is still as it is. But the fact that they've got the same wallpaper throughout the whole place just makes it feel cleaner or more simpler. Now, any apartment that you go to, you don't walk in and start talking about it, especially if it's friends or family, you know. Everybody's got their own color choice, their own style, their own look, and that's completely fair. And this is the kitchen here. So I'd say this was probably redone maybe 5 or 10 years ago as well. Now these older apartments do have gas, and then any new build apartments don't have gas. So this would have been perhaps not installed initially. They'll have done it at some point later, where they'll have gasified the whole neighborhood and it wouldn't have been there. You can see again the radiator here under the window. And the one thing to note too is the thickness of the walls in these buildings. It's a little bit hard to see here, but the sheer thickness of the walls. Nice view out to the garden outside. Now it's obviously the end of winter, so it's not as beautiful. And you see across to the neighbors. Nice and peaceful, nice and quiet. And that's exactly what you want. So this apartment has the washing machine in the kitchen. Now I want to ask everybody in the comments, do you have a washing machine in your kitchen? Do you have it in the bathroom, or do you have it in a separate room? Now in Russia, very typically it's in the bathroom, but with these older apartments there really isn't space. So they forego one cupboard and put it there. Now, those cupboards we saw on the balcony, I would say at some point they were hanging here. And then there would have been a more square fold-out table. This looks like one of the IKEA specials right here. And if you were to buy this place, the washing machine, microwave, okay, oven's not going anywhere, and then the fridge. One thing I noticed with the fridge is it's not left opening, it's right opening. And you can change that, but there's a little bit of food in here. What's going on? They've left me a snack. But yeah, everything is here for life. Sink, plenty of cupboards. Now, they don't have a extractor fan right here, because a lot of people who would have electric ovens would have that. And it would duct out to just up here. Now, depending on the apartment, it might duct out to the wall where the bathroom is or the toilet. You can see it right there. Because it's gas, they don't have one. That's no problems at all. And then you got a couple of plugs here. So there's plenty of normal things to plug everything in. And yeah, there's really nothing you need to do to this place to move in. I mean, someone's going to say it's ugly, it needs fixing, it needs replacing, but I mean, these doors are pretty close to brand new. Not much you can break with doors. So the bathroom in these older apartments are 2 rooms. So actually, if I open both doors, you probably can't quite see, but there's obviously a wall in between. So on the right is the toilet. Right there. Actually, they're really quite spacious, the toilets, the way they've got them separated. There's quite a lot of room. And then you've got the basics over here. So bath, shower, sink, and that's it. And then heated towel rail. So this, oh, Jesus, that's hot. So this is actually tapped into the central heating in the apartment. And I don't think they've got a cut-off valve here. You can get them where you can just turn them off as well. So you're limited, actually it's down here. There you go, if you want to switch it off you can, thank God. It does actually make the bathroom nice and toasty warm as well, and of course you can dry your towels on it. Does anybody else have a heated towel rail? In a lot of the modern apartments that I might have shown you on other videos, they have plug-in electric ones, purely for the fact that it might be on a different wall and it's too much of a pain to run from the actual hot water pipe straight to the radiator pipe right here. That's what it's called. So yeah, let me know what you think of this layout. This is very typical. If I was to go in every apartment building all the way down the street, we would see this same layout, and then however modern it is or however original it is, that's what you've got. And that would factor a lot into the price as well, and where it's been modernized or where it's not, or where it's got old furniture or new furniture. Obviously to do these repairs costs money, and then how the owner wants to pay that back to themselves, it would be up to them, right? Very big bedroom, actually. You could, if you were just a couple living here, you could have a double bed in here, TV on the wall, and then Plenty of room over here. I just had to sneeze, I'm sorry. Yeah, you could have this as a very big, spacious lounge room, and then it would effectively be a one-bedroom flat or apartment. And if it was a couple without kids, you'd have plenty of room. Or you could even do, this would be the ladies' room, the wife, and then the husband could put his desk over here and his computer and whatever else they want to do. That's how my wife would have it, 100%. She wouldn't be able to tolerate having me on my computer in the same room. It almost looks a little out of place, the TV in the apartment with the style it is. And, you know, it's a very large, that's bigger than the TV I've got on my wall in my apartment. So yeah, and that view out the window one more time. Again, you are looking out at the neighbors. However, it's very peaceful, it's very quiet. You don't hear anything outside anyway. So let's go through the prices of the apartment, shall we? I've actually come on downstairs. Now what I'll do is I'll put up the numbers here. Hopefully they're readable, and rather than doing it at home and doing fancy editing, it's a little bit easier to do it right here while I'm in the moment. And basically, this apartment is for sale. It's listed for sale. And of course, if you want to buy it, you can. If not, you can just enjoy this tour and understand some of the differences and nuances of apartment living here in Moscow. Now, I could be anywhere in Russia and I could find this type of 5-level building. The fact that we're very close to Moscow center, you can take the metro from here. It's about 7 or 8 stops, around about 20 minutes or so, and you can get somewhere reasonably close to the center of Moscow. Again, the metro station is 9 minutes walk that way, which is what I'll do right after ending this video. I'm going to go grab the metro and go back to Moscow myself and then go home. From where I'm standing here to where I live, it's about an hour and a half away by 2 different metros and then a suburban train, but it's really quite easy to get to. I've been to Shelkovskaya shopping center and metro station before. I've actually done a video of the Russian analog of IKEA. It's called Swedhouse, and that's the shop in that shopping center. It's actually a 10-level shopping center. It's really very fascinating. If I can find the link, I'll put that in the video as well. And of course, you've got lots of neighborhood shops around as well. There's supermarkets, coffee shops. In these older buildings, they don't have businesses in the lower ground floor. In the modern building, like the one behind us from the beginning of the video, they have a few businesses here. However, you've got a shopping center up the road. You don't need to worry about having something immediately in your apartment building. And all the people that lived here as well, back 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they would have all gone to where the bus station is. That was a very big transport hub years gone by. It's not as popular and busy now because there's more travel options throughout Russia. So the apartment is 48 square meters. I think I've mentioned it already, I'm not sure. 2-room apartment. Now that's how they call them in Russia. Some people would call that a 1-bedroom apartment because of the way it's set up, but it's a 2-room apartment, and you've got the kitchen, bathroom, toilet, entryway, and it was on the 3rd level. Now, the price will vary. Generally, the cheapest apartments are on the ground floor or 1st floor. There isn't a big difference between 3rd, 4th, or 5th level. Some people like the top floor because then they've got no neighbors above them. And depending on if you choose an apartment with one door or the other from when you come out of the level, you might have 2 neighbors or 1. So yeah, there is a tiny difference in prices, but it's really not noticeable. Generally, the prices are represented by the condition of the apartment, or has it been renovated, is it in the original condition from when it was built, and how much you may have to do to it to get it up to livable standard. Now, the apartment that we saw, you can move right in. You don't have to do anything. I mean, maybe you want to change some wallpaper and flooring, but it's absolutely not necessary. And I could happily just move right in there. Just need a desk for my computer and I'd be good. So we've got 2 different pricings that I'm going to put up. So firstly is the for sale price. And this is important because this is what this apartment is. It's listed for sale. and it's 12.5 million rubles, and that equates to 138,000 US dollars, 129,000 euros, 107,000 British pounds, and 220,000 Australian dollars. We decided to do Aussie dollars in some of these tours now. My hat's going a bit funny. Everybody keeps commenting on my hat in the videos. I like this one, but again, they don't fit me properly. The one I left in the bus, I'm so upset about. So yeah, I've got the conversions for you right here, and it's, again, listed for sale. I will put the map link to where this is, so that you can understand where it is in the geography of Moscow. North Izmailova district, or Shelkova metro station, Shelkovskaya. I always change the words. Now, for rent. So if you would want to rent this now, at the moment, I think I looked on the realtor map ahead of time. I think there was one listed in the next building, either the left or the right of the building that we were in. But these are all really the same. There is no difference apart from the finishing inside. And that apartment as it was, if you were to get it in that building or the next one, it would rent for 45,000 rubles per month, which works out at exactly 500 US dollars per month, 466 euros per month, 387 pounds per month, and $793 per month. And if you were to rent it from a private owner, that's what you're paying. The only extras that you would pay is you would pay for the internet. And that's on your own to do that, so you'd call the company to get it hooked up. The Wi-Fi was already there, so you just need to call the provider. That's the common one for this area, and you're good. And I would say it's around about $8 or $10 a month. The additional payments that you would have to pay if you're renting would be for water, electricity, and gas, because there's gas in this place. Now, it's very difficult to give you an average of what it would be. I would say, realistically, about $50 to $70 a month. It might be a little bit higher in winter and a little bit less in summer. Because of the heating, they do put the rate up a little bit more in wintertime because of the central heating in the apartment, which is an absolute necessity. You have it regardless of if you want it or not, but you can switch it off. It's very difficult to give you the exact price because it's metered based on your usage. On the meter that was on the wall, you'd actually record the numbers and then they'll give you what you owe. If you're renting it from somebody who's renting it to you, they'll actually work it out for you and tell them, or they would tell you what to pay them, and you're good. It's as simple as that. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video of this apartment here in Shelkovskaya district. Izmailova is actually a very well-known district in Moscow. It's very strange that they say north, south, and east of that place, because Izmailova, you can go to a very beautiful park. It's not that far away from here. Probably couldn't quite walk it, but it's a very nice district of Moscow. And the prices of apartments, you know, some people will go, this is old, it should be much cheaper. You know, you're paying for the location, you're paying for the fact you're near schools, it's a very quiet place, you're close to the metro, and there's a lot of positive things about the area. I mean, I'd love to walk 9 minutes and get on the metro. I'm not that fortunate. Where I live, I've got to catch a bus 20 minutes to get to the metro. On foot by 9 minutes is beautiful. So yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I've got the camera setting on somebody's car roof, so I hope they don't come out. And if you want to watch another video, that'll come up right now. And then if you want to join me on Telegram, there's a link to it right here. I'm not sure what video I'm going to put. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.